You're such an asshole.
Banging it out at assholeconsulting.com. Who writes? Dallas writes. Hey Aaron, I would like you to do a YouTube video request on the Clarey test on Jordan Peterson. Please keep me anonymous. If you'd like, could you also watch this video before you do your own? Yeah, and it was him interviewing with the chick. I've seen that one. So let's look up Dr. Jordan Peterson. Dr. Jordan Brent Peterson, born June 12, 1962, is a Canadian clinical psychologist, cultural clinic, and professor of psychology at the University of Toronto. Let me establish right now, I think the entire psychology profession is bullshit. I do believe therapy and talking to independent, impartial third parties is important. I do believe therapy is, but I believe the psychology profession as a whole is complete bunk, complete bullshit. His main areas of study are psychology of religious and ideological belief and the assessment and improvement of personality and performance. He authored Maps of Meaning, the Architecture of Belief in 1999. All right, he grew up in Fairview, Alberta. He learned a BA in political science. He gets a point. 1980, and a BA in psychology in 1984, both from the University of Alberta, and his PhD in clinical psychology from McGill University in 1991. All right, so worthless degree points right there. Now, he could turn it around. He could turn it around if he actually practiced as a psychologist. But I have a feeling he's just going to be a professional academician. He remained at McGill University as a postdoctoral fellow for 2 years before moving to Massachusetts, where he worked as assistant and associate professor in the psychology department in 1997. Years of a professor. Okay, so he's never had a real job in his life. He has no real world experience. What is he doing today? He is currently, and here I'm a little perplexed. He is a professor, so you get a point for that. But now he's starting to realize that the drawbacks of academia. Now, he could be one of these few true, last remaining, genuine professors. Actually cares about his discipline and his study, of which I have no doubt because he has intellectual honesty. And now he's starting to take moves and strides. Like, so the other question is, what is he doing now? Does he get a point taken off because now he's like forced into the private sector? Not to my satisfaction. Not to my satisfaction. He got it because he for good and legitimate reasons. He's starting to get Patreon money. He's starting to get. So what is he doing today? Nah, you're still an academic. I'm sorry. I just, that's the Clarey test. I'm gonna apply it impartially. He has never worked a real job in his life. He's been a professor. He still is a professor, and that's not a real job. It isn't. So the only thing left is to determine whether he came from money. And thankfully, there's an entry here about childhood and education. Dr. Jordan Peterson was born to a small town, his birthplace, Edmonton. He is the eldest of 3 children, born to Beverly, a librarian for the Fairview campus, and Walter Peterson, a school teacher. So he did not come from money. All right, so he does. That's the one place he gets 0 points, which again, the Clarey test is a golf score. You want a low score, but he gets 3. So I'm kind of flummoxed or mixed about Dr. Jordan Peterson. I give him a standing ovation for standing up to academia. I give him a standing ovation for having the independent thought. But I'd like to know where the fuck this was. Did he just get that recently? Was it too much for him to bear? And now all of a sudden because frankly, he didn't grow up rich. I'll grant him that. But the rest of it is your standard, millennial, even though he's not a millennial, he's a baby boomer, but just like, I'm on a major in political science because I think I'm really smart. Let's be clear, he had no intention of working a real job. None. All right, and I think he's been forced into it recently with perhaps even, maybe not to the extent of Brett Weinstein over at Evergreen, because at least Dr. Peterson, I think he's held to some principles, and maybe he's not completely responsible for creating these Frankenstein monsters, but he is part of that system. He was actively part of that system. Now, would I like to have a beer with him? Yeah, I would. Even though he scores very poorly on the Clarey test, I would like to have a beer with him because he is smart. I have listened to some of his videos and podcasts and the like and interviews. So there is some intellectual honesty there, and he's at the forefront. And he's a rare. He's not common. He's not your standard academic fuck. But I'm sorry, given his background and his track record, he didn't work it. Hey, Edmonton, you could have gone up to Fort McMurray. You could have worked it off. He hasn't. He hasn't. I guarantee if I shake his hands, they're very soft. They're very svelte. Very thin fingers, I'm guaranteeing. So I'd be very curious from an intellectual perspective, but I'm not going to lie to you. It'd be like watching a zoo animal. It'd be like watching something in a cage. Like ooh, that's interesting. That's a creature I've never seen before. An academic in his natural environment who doesn't agree with all the other conformist thinkers. That's it. But I don't have a lot of respect for him because he's... Can you say he's not a real man? Because he did stand up to these guys. Okay, he's a real man in that regard, but only as of recent. Only as of recent. So, yeah, I don't hate him. I just can't muster up the respect for somebody that majors in political science and parks and camps his ass in academia. And then it's kind of like the hot chickie babes, the YouTube, like Laura Southern and Shuwan had. It's like they just came to the party. Oh my God, look, I'm pretty. It's like. Or the black guy who's like espouses conservative values, let's prompt him to the front. It's kind of the same thing. It's kind of like an affirmative action guy. It's like, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but the only reason you got promoted to the prominence you did is because of your uniqueness. And in this particular case, it has nothing to do with race or gender, but with Dr. Jordan Peterson, he's the one not Marxist professor. It's like, oh, well, you're not a Marxist. Well, let's just promote you to the fucking front of the brigade. Meanwhile, everybody else has been doing the toiling and the sweat and the labor. So, anyway, that's all we got. You guys got questions? Go to assholeconsulting.com. Good Clarey test request. That was very interesting. We'll see you kids later. Toodles.